Hey everybody, Tim here with today's Star Wars review for the Clone Wars, the original series, the 2003 series, the one that came out after Attack of the Clones, but before Revenge of the Sith, like the first Clone Wars series, the one that actually people don't consider canon anymore. So, of course I have to include it because it is Star Wars, and realistically, like, it's so short, I don't see why it can't be considered canon. Now, it's created by Genndy Tartakovsky. I'm sure I butchered that, and I absolutely apologize. Terrific director, writer, producer, everything. He came up with, like, Dexter's Lab. He was part of the creation team for, like, the Powerpuff Girls. Samurai Jack was his. Like, all sorts of things. Like, realistically, if you think of, like, Boxy Fingers, it's probably him. Overall, it's a great series. It was originally actually a web series. So like the first 2 seasons, every episode was like 4 minutes. And then they like finally stopped. And then George Lucas was like, okay, let's do one more. Just one more. And then each episode was 15 minutes. But each episode's like, that season only has like 5 episodes altogether. So I'm just going to do the entire thing because you can watch the entire series in 2 hours. It's great. Like, realistically, because it's so short, it moves. Like, you have no time to process. So just some of the things that jumped out at me. We see the calamari homeworld where I've never actually thought about a lightsaber underwater before. It's kind of an interesting concept. We see an IG-88 cameo. We see the Sith woman who is Ventress, who, again, when we get to the other Clone Wars TV show, is a huge part in that. But Ventress is a big part of the Star Wars canon. So we get that. Probably my favorite episode or storyline in the first 2 seasons is the one with Mace Windu. Because, for one, he's just a badass. Like, even if it's not Samuel Jackson, he's a badass. And basically the whole episode is this giant ship just dropping the base, basically, and just creating these seismic waves. And it just keeps launching Mace Windu. Like, he tries to run up to it and it just launches him. It's a really well done series. And I liked it. It was probably my favorite. We see Anakin defeat Ventress, which is probably why it's not considered canon. Because again, if you watch the other Clone Wars TV show, she's in that a lot. But it's still kind of interesting. And then finally, season 2 ends with the introduction of General Grievous, who plays a really big part in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. And so this is actually the first look, if you think about it. Like, some people, I mean, granted, this series did not reach a huge audience, but some people going into Revenge of the Sith already knew who General Grievous was. That's actually really mind-blowing to me. So, going into season 3, the final season, we actually see a Duloc in the first episode, which is the kind of the villain, the antagonist for the Ewok series, which was awful. But in that same scene, we also see a Cylon from like Battlestar Galactica, so whatever. The best scene from season 3 is C-3PO just like taking off his clothes, where he just like takes off his robe to like, I have a gold body now. And it's so sexual and it's so awkward, but it's also really well done. Like, it's like, ugh. And then on the flip side, what happened to the Wookiees? The Wookiees look so terrible in this series. I don't even know what happened. We see Dooku training Grievous, and then the series ends with General Grievous actually kidnapping Palpatine, which leads us right into Revenge of the Sith, where we see like Anakin and Obi-Wan trying to rescue Palpatine. Overall, it's a good series. Like, it's all action. Like, there is such little plot development. Like, it's literally, you just kind of sit back, you have a drink, which I've had way too many, and you're like, okay. And it's just people blowing each other up. Like, it's interesting, but not a lot of development. Not a lot of character development. It's story development, but not... it's plot development, but not character development. And that works. Because once we get into like the other, I don't want to say actual, I'm sorry, the other Clone Wars TV show, that is character development, where we get like Ahsoka and we see Anakin slowly slip to the dark side, stuff like that. Whereas this one, you got 4 minutes to tell a story. Go. I mean, like, we watched, 25 episodes in 2 hours. So it's good. If you've never seen it, definitely watch it. I really liked it. So I'm curious what you guys think. And the other thing is, the other Clone Wars show came out after Revenge of the Sith. So that was all predated, which is easy. It's easy to tell a prequel. This all came out before Revenge of the Sith, which I really thought was interesting. So what did you guys think about it? Let me know, and I will see you guys next time for Revenge of the Sith.